and the district attorney's office possible talks of a plea deal. Make it make sense since these two have pled not guilty recently in court. Will there be a stipulation if they decided to plead guilty that the district attorney's office would say in return for taking or you all accepting the plea that you also tell us where your child is located and can be found? What are the stipulations if indeed these two plead guilty to unaliving the child or pleading no contest? Welcome to the Vote Accept.
In California, lawyers are pushing for a possible plea agreement in the Haros case. The missing baby's parents, Jake and Rebecca, were in court as prosecutors and the defense try to strike a deal. It has been more than a month now since Emmanuel was reported missing. His parents were arrested days later and are pleading not guilty. His body has not been found. Emmanuel's mom, Rebecca, had initially reported him missing in August. She told police at the time she was assaulted in a parking lot in California and that the baby was kidnapped. Investigators say her story was inconsistent and it didn't add up. In 2018, Emmanuel's father, Jake, had a suspended sentence for a separate child abuse case, leaving his then 10-month-old daughter permanently disabled. In 2023, he pled guilty to willful child cruelty from the Riverside DA.
It was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haros should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work.
Former federal prosecutor and partner at Jones Walker LLP, David Weinstein, is with us this
morning. Even if he had been put back in, there's no telling if he had been released. We also don't know whether the alleged abuse took place at the hands of the father or the mother. If the mother is just part of a cover-up, we know that the father has a prior history of child abuse, a conviction for that. And so, yes, it would appear that based on the facts we know, the system has failed this little child, but there's no telling if it might not have happened even.
Or to approach how their legal argument without a body.
It's not impossible, but it certainly makes things more difficult because the allegations here are that the child died because of abuse and neglect. That means they're going to have to present evidence that predated the disappearance of the child. If they had recovered the body of the child, they'd have some evidence. They'd be able to have a medical examiner testify as to what the cause of death was. So it's not an easy case. It's certainly a circumstantial case. And that gives a little bit of leverage to the defense in terms of what they're seeking on their side. But for the prosecution, you've got a prior conviction of the father for similar events. You have the mother who gave a story that turned out not to be true. And so each side has a little bit of leverage. I don't think that the punishment is going to be as severe as it would have been had there been a body that was recovered.
So there's talk of a plea deal for both parents, and both legal teams are seemingly working something out. Would that be in exchange for information about what happened to them?
Well, that's certainly always an element in any plea negotiation or any bargain, acceptance of responsibility. If they're going to enter a plea of guilty, or even one where they don't contest the charges and plead no contest, they're going to have to step up at the time of sentencing and accept responsibility, or the judge is going to be a lot harsher on them, and the prosecution's not going to recommend anything but a more severe punishment. So I certainly think they're going to have to cooperate and give some information as to what happened and where the body was located. There were earlier reports that the father was out with police in a field, perhaps assisting them towards that end. So absolutely, Marty, they're going to have to step up and accept responsibility.
What a tragic case. It appears a preliminary hearing or another hearing for this case has now been pushed to October when the parents will next appear. David, thank you for your time.
Thank you. News Nation is the source for that information. All right, everybody, let's get down to business. Hello, hope everyone is well. Who initiated a possible plea deal? District attorney or one of the attorneys for the accused, Jake or Rebecca? Will they admit to guilt? Or will it be finger pointing, or they'll say no contest? Will they tell what the child is? Will they give information to how the child got to be deceased if they decide to speak? See, lots of questions. I want to know who initiated talks about a plea deal. Rebecca or Jake? They both told their lawyers, hey, I'm going to go ahead and talk, tell you what you need to know. I want out this situation. I want to hurry up and get my time over if possible. I can one day walk free. Accountability. Who's to blame for the situation? Lots of people. Naturally, the parents, because I won't doubt that Rebecca is equally responsible. For all we know, she was also an abuser to her children. And if you watch somebody beat your kid, abuse your kid, then to me, you're an abuser as well. It doesn't matter. Oh, it's all him, it's all her. If you watch, you had knowledge, to me, you are on the same ground. You're on the same level. The fact he has a criminal history of beating a child, had no business being free. You heard the district attorney say, I'm speaking my mind about the judge. He had no business letting this man walk free, 6 years probation. Yeah, it's a slap on the wrist considering the state of the child at the moment. She can't see, she can't walk, she can't talk, she has a trach in her throat. She can't even live a fruitful childhood or adult life without being taken care of. No body. No baby Emmanuel. You hear about stiffer punishment if indeed the baby could be found. Autopsy could be performed. Well, I guess all that's going to depend on what these two jokers tell the district attorney. Tell authorities what they did with the kid. Are they closer officials to locating the child? See, everything falls on these two, what they're going to tell. The judge who made the decision, he's decided to now speak out, saying he's never been called to task for his decisions. Well, we don't know that. We don't know who's complaining about your decisions. For all I know, somebody has complained about your decisions over the years. You can't get angry that someone's calling you out on allowing an abuser to walk free. He's also violated probation and still made bond and still walking free to make babies, a 2-year-old and a 2.5-month-old, a 7-month-old, 7.5-month or 7-month, 9-month-old that's currently missing and presumed dead. Okay? So had that judge gave him prison time, which to me, he should have gotten life. You're talking about beating a 2.5-month-old, the girl child. 10 years ain't enough, 30 years ain't enough in my book. You abuse a child to the point where they are severely damaged, brain damage, hemorrhaging. How do you get to walk 5 years, 6 years later, 10 years later? Hell no. She's not walking. How about that? She's not walking, she's not talking, she's not productive. She can hear, that's it. Grace of God, she can hear. But nothing like seeing, you understand? So she doesn't have the luxuries that this joker and Rebecca had and still have. Although they're incarcerated, they can see, they can hear, they can walk, they can skip, they can jump. She can't. Now we're talking about Emmanuel. He's not here to do either of those things as well. If indeed he is dead and he is presumed to be dead. Accountability. The judge needs to understand you made this decision to free this heathen. And had he was locked up, more than likely she'd have found some other joker to procreate with, Rebecca. There wouldn't even been an Emmanuel or a 2-year-old. And it's not to say that she's not an abuser. Let's make that clear as well. As you heard the guy speaking here in this commentary. Who's to say who's the abuser? But mostly people are going to believe Jake is the orchestrator because he has a previous history and conviction, pled guilty to beating a kid. Okay? But as I said, it takes two to tango. I believe she's evenly involved because she also spun a lie of her child being kidnapped when she already knew her child was dead. So to me, that's a sign of guilt. Whether she beat the baby, watched him kill the baby, he told her he killed the baby, he told her he did this, he did that, she had to have known, okay, something ain't right. You're allowing this person to go bury your baby. If indeed she didn't see or witness him kill the kid, you formed a lie to authorities, went on TV, spoke to investigators knowing it was a lie, it was a farce. So you're evenly yoked into the lie and the death of your child, murder of your child. I say murder. I don't see this as an accident. What evidence do they have besides what they found at the home? Blood evidence, phone searches, data, to say it's been prolonged abuse that led to the child's death. Has someone come forward to say, I've witnessed abuse of this said Emmanuel, and also the 2-year-old? Could be. The judge needs his hide beat because Jake has been afforded the opportunity to bail out, get in trouble with the law recently, and kill a kid in my book. And as I said, had the judge sentenced him years ago to prison term, there wouldn't have been a baby Emmanuel or a smaller child made by Jake and Rebecca. As I said, she would have been out in the world procreating with some other joker, but not him specifically. And once again, it's true. She could also be abusing herself, and we would still be talking about a kid, maybe not the name Emmanuel, but you understand what I'm saying? A dead kid, missing kid, because possibly she's an abuser as well. But hindsight is 20/20. The judge made this decision, and some people are advocating for the judge, some type of judge group or advocation group. You can walk and you can hear, you can see, you can jump. So who the hell are you advocating for? You advocating for another joker that can see, hear, smell, eat food, walk, talk, sing, dance. The judge, he can walk, he can talk, he can see. So I don't care anything about some group advocating for him. He made the right decision according to the evidence. The judge didn't hear the evidence of a child being beat, a 9-month-old being beat. 2.5, get them mixed up. A 2.5-month-old being beat up, a child who can't defend himself or herself. You're gonna say, oh, time suspended, give him 6 years probation. How the fuck do you give somebody 6 years probation for beating an infant that can't walk, can't talk, can't sit up, can't roll up, can't hold a bottle? If it was a 1-year-old, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, 12-year-old, it's all the same to me. You out of pocket. Okay? Hey, Marlon. You are out of pocket. 15-year-old, you won't have no business beating no kid. Starving a kid. Holding a kid hostage. Not feeding a child. It's all the same to me. A child is a child. So I don't know how the judge could have seen the evidence and said in his right mind, okay, I'm going to let this person do 6 months in jail and 6 years probation. He couldn't even abide by that. He ended up getting a bond, which tells us the decision was wrong. And even if Jake had never violated, which I understand, he's been in jail in and out 3 times since the beating of the first kid, the girl kid, the sentence is wrong. Not was. The sentence for the baby girl was wrong. How the fuck do you allow somebody to walk free after beating a baby? You can't never make me agree to that. Ever. Ever. So you advocates saying it was in the judge's right to give him the probation. You sound like a damn fool. Because had it been your child beat and you're having to take care of a child with a trach, can't see, she can't walk, can't talk, you wouldn't be saying that about the judge. You'd be wanting that judge taken off the bench. And it's sad that people have to wear the shoe to empathize with what is right and what is wrong. This was wrong. And I agree with the DA. Now, as for this misinformation mumbo jumbo. Now, District Attorney, I was riding along with you in what you had to say about the judge, that he made a wrong decision. You say, hey, it ain't a personal attack. Well, the judge's gonna take it personal because you've called him out. But you're saying that you don't like the information circling about, speculation about Mr. Haros' past pertaining to you all investigating the case of Emmanuel and trying to solve it. You can't tell us how to think. You can't tell us what to think, speculate. We're going to use common sense. He's already beat a baby. He's already beat a baby, damn near to death. You have a new baby missing and presumed dead. How much deduction do you need? We're human beings. We're going to assume, yeah, he's the culprit, and she too. I'm not just leaving Jake out there on his own. I'm putting her in there as well. But you can't tell us how to think, sir. You do your job, your investigators, and you can't tell us how to think and what to assume. You put this information out here, hello Patricia, that he had a criminal record beating a kid and got off with a slap on the wrist. And if some of you didn't know, Jake only went to jail on the weekends. Ding, ding, ding. You didn't know that, did you? Please check out my previous live where I bring you that information from yesterday. Yeah, this MF only went to jail on the weekends. He didn't sit in jail day for day for 6 months. He checked in like he was checking into the Marriott, did his little time Friday through Sunday, and then walked out of there probably Sunday night and back to a regular life Sunday night through Friday evening. Checkmate. How is that justice for that baby girl and baby Emmanuel and possibly that other child, 2-year-old by Rebecca and him, and possibly any other children he had access to? Because to me, if you can beat a kid, one goes missing, presumed dead, you've probably beat your other children. Checkmate. I'm not a dodo bird. An abuser has no business in the company of anything walking with 2 feet and 2 hands. Let me say that again. Nobody is safe. Woman, man, child, not even a pet. No stipulations on who they would and would not abuse. Yes, Emmanuel was failed. Yes, the other baby girl was failed, and possibly the other children as well. The system failed. It's obvious because we're not talking about a whole nother kid. That's why I always say, if you see something, say something. And I get it. A lot of people don't want to get involved in other people's business because they know they'll have to go to court, they'll have to testify, then they'll start asking you personal questions about your life, if you're a parent, if you've had any legal troubles, criminal record, any dealings with DHS, all that'll come out because they're going to dig into your history as well. That's why a lot of people don't want to get involved. Then they don't want their name out there. They don't want people bothering them, harassing them, or worse, harming them. I get it. But we're still talking about children, and they can't defend themselves. So if you see abuse, neglect, you can make an anonymous call. And I always tell people, bypass DHS. Fuck that 1-800 number. Call the police, because the police will get a visual of how the child is living. You understand? They'll get a visual. Instead of you sitting there waiting and hoping DHS will pick up the report and go out to the house. And how many times have we heard DHS was called, they went in and nothing was done, and then poof, voila, now we hear a story of a missing kid, dead kid, abused kid. Call the police. Child wandering around for hours in dirty diapers, soiled, call the police. They'll go on the scene and they will check it out thoroughly. They'll be the ones out looking for the mom and the daddy and asking the hard questions. Why your baby out here? Somebody said your child ain't ate in 4 hours, 3 hours. Hey, your child's out here urinating in public. You see where I'm going? Bypass DHS. We are entitled to think for ourselves and come to any conclusion that we feel. We do not have to agree. But the district attorney, you need not even be worried about what the hell we're thinking about out here. Because you all put this information out about Jake's past. It's water under the bridge. It's out there. And I don't see how that's hindering your investigation. What we think is hindering the investigation. Help me understand because I'm confused. They're already locked up. You have your evidence you've gathered. You're now in talks with their attorneys about a plea deal. Looks like to me the ball is rolling. With or without our opinions. And once again, your office or somebody went digging, found out he had a past. It's out there. It's on social media. It's on the news. Who cares? Okay? It's out. We have a right to know. And even in court, it would be right for 12 members of a jury to hear he damn near beat a kid to death. Because you know, certain crimes won't even be allowed in court. So the jury don't have that pertinent information in rendering a decision about a person's alleged crimes. So if these two went to court, I would hope this would come up. Oh yeah, hey, he beat some kid, 2.5-month-old little girl. She got adopted by a family member. Yeah, he was violating probation. Stupid judge still gave him a bond. Long Beach. This is sick to me. Gun charges recently. Why was he free to still be around children? Is anybody paying attention? And you're talking about different jurisdictions at that, okay? Where he hurt that kid, girl child, that ain't the same jurisdiction where he lived in a home with Rebecca, the 2-year-old, and Emmanuel. Say, whoa. So it's a lot of flim flam, everybody dropping the ball to just let this fool violate probation. Because allegedly he wasn't supposed to violate, remember? Isn't that why the judge gave him the sentence? If you violate, you will get prison time. Well, had you put him in prison, we wouldn't be talking about baby Emmanuel, Rebecca, Jake, Pookie, Ray, Bubba, and no damn body else. So hell yeah, the system failed. You judges failed these kids. Because there would be no baby Emmanuel story had that judge gave Jake prison time, and Rebecca will be somewhere out in the wind doing whatever the hell she was doing. And it's not to say that she's not an abuser herself, but we wouldn't be talking about this baby. Flip side could be yes, we'd be talking about her and another joker and a missing kid. Who's to say? We got to wait on the evidence to see if indeed she was participating in beating her kid. But if she watched, she's guilty. She lied, made up a story about a kidnapping, she's guilty. It's all the same to me. That's the latest coming out of California. Possible plea deal in works with the district attorney and Rebecca and Jake's attorneys. Will they tell the truth to where the baby is? Will they tell how the baby got to be deceased? Will they admit to abuse? Or will they plead no contest and just get a bench decision from the judge, no jury? Will the district attorney's office ask for an even exchange? You don't get anything until you tell us where we can find the kid. And that's what I would do as a district attorney. I'm not talking to you about anything, Mr. and Mrs. Haros, until I have a definitive area where I can get that kid deceased. We do DNA testing to prove it's your big child. And then we'll come back to the table and work out a plea. If I choose to. And not before then. Let's not let this be an Idaho 4 repeat of taking a guilty plea, but without any explanation about motive, how long the stalking went on. See where I'm going? Nothing from the defendant. Just guilty and then sent to prison. And as someone said, he could easily, that district attorney out there in Idaho said, well, he could just lie and make up something. True, because that situation is a little bit different than this. But it was nothing but just a guilty plea, and then off to prison he went. You didn't ask for a murder weapon, nothing. Clothes, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, we get it. He could lie. Same thing with this case. They could lie. But the district attorney says he has an idea where the child is. So possibly somebody's been talking behind closed doors, or they have done GPS renderings and or geofencing from their devices and have a general location in mind where the child is. But I would not talk about a plea until I actually saw remains and they got confirmed by a medical examiner that they do belong to the Haros, that the baby belongs to them. Other than that, we're not talking about anything. And frankly, I don't know if they have the death penalty in California. I don't think they have it now. What plea deal could you be talking about exactly? If they don't have the death penalty, it ain't nothing left but life any damn way. What are you trying to offer them? 50 years, the possibility of parole, 50 flat years, then we'll let you go or won't let you go. What are you trying to offer them? Because in my book, they don't deserve to walk free. So you don't have a death penalty. What the hell do you all have to talk about with Jake and Rebecca Haros? What plea deal do you have to discuss? And they have killed a kid. So let's talk about that. Then I'm gonna check out of here. What kind of fucking plea do you have to discuss about an infant? We'll give you so many years, and then you'll have the chance to walk free after about 50 years or so, 40 years, if you comply with our stipulations, such as giving up where the child can be found. We'll let you out when you're old and gray, can't walk. Is that where this is going? Because I'm going to say this. Even a plea deal is a disgrace to baby Emmanuel and the other baby girl and all his children and any child that's been abused and dead. It's a disgrace and it's an insult. Because these people can tell you any damn thing about a rollover, suffocate the baby in the bed, we panicked, yeah, we did beat the baby, I didn't mean to shake the baby, I've thought about my past, I didn't want to be in that situation again, we went ahead and buried the kid, she buried the kid, whatsoever. You don't know what's the truth. But he admitted to beating the kid before, so I'm going to think he beat this one. So how the fuck you think it's okay to work out a plea deal and give them the chance at life, even at the age of 60 or 70? Hell no. Emmanuel ain't living, and that baby girl is breathing through a tube and can't even see, walk or talk. No plea deal. That's my commentary. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below this video. Take the polls on my community page. Follow me on the news breakout. I'm going to put a poll up after this live. Do you believe a plea should be offered to these two jokers? Weigh in. Tell me how you feel, yes or no. Feel free to comment if you like. I say no. I say hell no. Ain't offering you shit. Where is the baby? That's what I be saying. I don't want to hear nothing else about no plea. Where is the kid? Where can I find the kid? That's all I'd be saying to them. You can't tell me nothing about that baby? You sitting there and rot. Where is the baby? Prayers and condolences. Baby Manuel, all deceased children, those who are currently missing, justice for them. And once again, if you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Hello, Maria, thank you. Let's stop this. You call if you see something about a baby, because they can't defend themselves. And we need to quit hearing these DHS stories, back and forth, these people getting their kids, still abusing them, handing them over to the state, relatives, then they hand them back to the parents. Enough of this shuffle. These are not toys and dolls. They are not toys and dolls. They are little people who deserve respect. And you can remain anonymous. And remember, it just may save a life. That's my commentary. Thank you for listening to the Vault Excel. You all have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.